Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. If you are a baseball fan, but sports fan of any kind, or if you love documentary movies, gotta suggest Say Hey, Willie Mays. Perloff and I have already seen it. It comes out Tuesday, November 8th at 9 p.m. on HBO. They'll be available to stream on HBO Max. It's all about Willie Mays. And one of the producers of the film is Colin Hanks, who's, of course, an actor, producer, director in his own right. Thanks so much for joining us, Colin. How are you?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me back, you two. And I say back because we've danced before.
We've done
Yeah,
this a little bit, enough to know that we all know you're a massive San Francisco Giants fan. So doing a documentary about Willie Mays is not that shocking. But how important was it to you to tell this story while Willie Mays is still alive and still can contribute to his own legacy in that way?
I mean, always better to hear it from the man himself, right? Always better to hear it from the person that lived to tell the tale. Yeah, I mean, massively important. You know, Willie Mays, that was sort of the name that was circled at the top of the list in terms of baseball stories. Like if we could tell that man's story, because it weirdly had not been told, that would be you know, I mean, that would just be the bee's knees. And so my producing partner Sean Stewart, who I work with on all my doc features and everything, he really took the ball and ran with it and worked very, very hard to help make it happen. And honestly, it was really not so much because we're Giants fans, which we are, but you know, I think there's oddly a disconnect with people in regards to, you know, everybody knows Babe Ruth. Everybody knows Joe DiMaggio. They know the stories. They know who they were as people and as players. But oddly, Willie Mays kind of exists in his own space. And people of my generation, and I'll just say 50 and younger, even though I'm not 50, but younger, you know, who were not around to see him play, I don't think they truly understand what a complete, unique player he was. And because of where he was in his life and where he was, you know, in the history of American sports, I think you easily make the argument that he was the greatest baseball player that ever lived. And so we take the time to really sort of showcase that, as well as who the man was and how he approached the game and his life. So yeah, I'm just absolutely geeked to even be a part of this, to be quite honest.
Colin, full disclosure, I'm a Phillies fan, so second best behind Bryce Harper right now. That's a given.
I'm very happy for you. I've been telling all of my Philly friends, hey, congratulations. You're getting hot just at the right time, just like the San Francisco Giants did in 2010.
Oh, so, stop. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Yeah, it's bitter memories. It's funny. What you said about Willie Mays is exactly what Maggie and I said when we were about to watch the documentary. We know so much about Mantle, DiMaggio, even Hank Aaron, obviously Jackie Robinson. I was really stunned. The 51 World Series. So DiMaggio was still there, and Willie Mays was just starting his career, and Mantle was just starting. It was an incredible collection of stars. But why is it? Can you explain more why Willie Mays doesn't get the folklore? I'm about your age. To me, I know everything about all those guys. All I know about Willie Mays is he is among the greatest of all time, but I don't have a strong sense of him as a person until the documentary.
Well, you know, I will say that I think part of it is unique to his story. I mean, he did leave New York for San Francisco with the Giants, and I think you have to acknowledge the fact that once there are no longer three baseball teams playing in New York, yes, he expands the game onto the West Coast, but he loses that very early, still relatively new television eye, which was truly, you know, and you can still argue is still primarily focused on East Coast time zone and sports. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I've seen more, you know, Yankees, Red Sox games on television than I do see Dodgers, Giants. So I think that's part of it. But, you know, I think there's another layer to it that I think is fascinating. And it's one that isn't really discussed very often. You know, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, all great players, all salesmen as well in their way. They were able to sort of tell their story, sell their story. but they didn't play in the Negro Leagues. And I think that when you're talking about who is the best player of all time, and look, you're never going to solve that. There's never going to be an overall consensus. But the truth of the matter is Willie growing up in the Depression era South, coming up through the Negro Leagues, moving up to the major leagues and dominating the way that he did, and then going to San Francisco, he sort of is present for such an important part of baseball history as well as American history. And, that's one of the things that we try to explore in the film. It's not just his baseball life, but it's also how he handled his life, which ironically was very similar to the way that he played. Head down and let your game do your talking, let your hard work do all the work for you. So, it's an endlessly fascinating conversation. I could talk for 5 segments about this, as you can see, but I think there are a lot of factors to it. And the truth of the matter is, for the younger generation, it's really, you can't stress enough. He was truly the first Black superstar athlete to come out of baseball. There were other great Black players without a doubt. And there are other ones that are very, very famous for what they did on and off the field. But Willie was the 5-tool player, man. He really did everything. And, not only did he do it incredibly well, he would do it until he was bone tired. He would play in all-star games. He'd beat the all-star team twice in one day, because they used to play 2 all-star games in one day back then. So he was just there. He was the first true, just like mind-bogglingly talented athlete that just dominated his sport. And it just so happened that he was coming up, in the city at the dawn of television, when that kind of thing was just starting out. So, there's a lot of stuff that's lost to history. There's a lot of stuff that you can't really, speak to until enough time has passed. But I don't know. That's part of my spiel for that answer.
It's a lot. Colin Hanks is joining us. Say Hey, Willie Mays is the name of the documentary. It debuts Tuesday, November 8th at 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO. Then it's available to stream on HBO Max. I don't want to ruin anything about Willie Mays' story, but can I tell you one thing that I did not expect coming out of this documentary?
Please.
Barry Bonds, very likable.
Yes.
Bonds, very likable in this documentary. We know he has a good relationship with Willie Mays. He kind of said he's like a second father to him, and how many games Willie was there to watch Barry, obviously. He was also a legend in San Francisco. So that was like the one really unexpected, besides obviously Mays' story. I was like, ooh, Bonds.
Yeah.
This is a nice Barry Bonds bump for him.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's as someone who is a fan of Barry Bonds, and he's obviously a very decisive figure, within baseball. And there's a lot of things that you can say about him. The truth of the matter is that we felt like the film would be incomplete if there wasn't a mention of their relationship, and it really wouldn't be a Willie Mays documentary if Barry wasn't involved. One of the things that comes up quite a lot in the film is Willie talking about how people took care of him. Louis DeRocher took care of him. All of these different people that helped raise him took care of him. The lady that was, he lived in their apartment when they came to New York. They took care of him. He took care of the players that came up after him as well. All the Latin players that came up through the San Francisco organization, Bobby Bonds, Barry's father, and eventually Barry as well. So we felt that, we had to find a way to include Barry, and much like Willie himself, what better way to tell that part of the story than have the actual person tell it? So it was a very long process. Barry is very wary. I don't mean to rhyme, but he's very guarded when it comes to interviews. I get the sense that he has been bit very badly by people saying the interview is going to be about one thing and then it becomes something else. And so we stayed true to our word and focused on what it was. And I think as a result, you see a side of Barry that I don't think has ever been presented before. I really got the sense that I was actually seeing the real Barry Bonds talk about his love for his godfather and the love of baseball as well. There was never a more exciting, unedited, raw interview than the one we got of Barry, because you just got a sense of his true personality, and it turns out kind of delightful.
Yeah. I thought the same thing as Maggie. Unbelievable. I have to put you on the spot. When Aaron Judge was hitting all these home runs this fall, who do you consider the single season home run record holder?
I consider Barry Bonds to be the record holder. I thought that actually framing it as the AL champion, I thought was a witty way of putting it. But no, look, the truth of the matter is the game is the game. You know, we'll look at the history of the game and we talk about the dead ball era. We talk about the era of the designated hitter. We talk about the AstroTurf era. All of these things, they all happened. And if the World Series count for those years that, you know, Bonds and Sosa and all of them played, then their records count. That was the game at the time. Like it or not, that was the game. And so I was absolutely just enamored this season with Aaron Judge. I thought it was incredibly exciting. He found a way to get me to root for the Yankees, which is damn hard.
Well, Colin, with that in mind, you know,
yeah.
This was a popular thing a couple years ago, like when LeBron James was going through his first free agency. All these different celebrities from every different city would like make a video trying to pitch, you know, LeBron, come here, come there. Spike Lee directed a video to try to come to the Knicks. Obviously, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
But now Aaron Judge is going through it. San Francisco is a place that is close to where he grew up. And now there's a report out saying the Giants will now be outbid by the Yankees. So if you were one of the celebrities they came to for the Giants to say, hey, make the pitch to Aaron Judge, like come to the Giants, what would you say?
I mean, I don't even know how you begin to make that pitch, to be quite honest. I really genuinely don't. I mean, I would love to see him play for the Giants for sure. I mean, talk about an absolute just specimen of a baseball player. That guy is just absolutely fantastic. Handles himself just impeccably. I mean, he really is such a great example for you know, young kids playing the game. Would I love to see him in the black and orange? Yes, absolutely. Do I think anyone else has the payroll to be able to pay that man? I don't know if the Giants do. I don't even know if the Yankees really do, but I'm sure they're going to find a way.
We're talking to Colin Hanks, producer of Say Hey, Willie Mays. Wonderful documentary. All right, Colin, we got acting questions. Can we jump in? So I want you to tell your agent, I got Paramount Plus so I could watch The Offer. I was so into it. Then I researched everything. I understand your character was not an actual person, right? You played in The Offer about the making of The Godfather. It was sort of amalgamation of different Hollywood guys. I'm sorry, I wanted to punch you throughout 75% of the movie, but you
that's good.
Compliment.
Yeah,
that's good. That means I did my job. Mission accomplished. I'm going to just
Lapidus,
knock that up.
Together. Yeah.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah, you know, it's funny because my friend Dexter Fletcher, who was one of the producers, he directed the first few episodes. He called me up. He's like, "So I'm doing this Godfather thing," and I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "And I got this role. I think it'd be perfect for." I said, "Yeah. What is it?" He goes, "Oh, it's like the bad guy. He's the guy who didn't want to make the Godfather." I said, "Great. What's his name?" He's like, "Well, he's sort of like all of the people that didn't want to make the Godfather." And I'm like, "Oh, so the one fake guy?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, sure, love to." Yeah, no, that one was a lot of fun, and it just tickles me that so many people were able to catch it and watch it. And so I love it when people say they wanted to slap Barry Lapidus. I take that as a point of pride.
Yeah. And I mean, now with A Friend of the Family, you got a lot of projects going on. Friend of the Family, which is streaming on Peacock right now. I haven't watched that yet, but I have watched the documentary that this is based on. And when you watch the documentary about what happened to this family and how a next door neighbor kind of like infiltrates this family, I remember just looking at my husband each time being like, no way. No way. But it's all true. And you had to find a way to like connect with one of these characters that seems like they're all kind of awful.
Yeah, you know, that one was a hard one because it is a crazy story. You know, the Broberg family, it was a young Mormon family in Pocatello, Idaho in 73. They were incredibly naive, very, very sweet family. And they were taken advantage of by a master manipulator predator who was a family friend. And I think when a lot of people watch the documentary, like I did, I was freaking out going, how on earth do they make all of these horrible decisions? I do not understand this. And it was frustrating. I was like yelling at the TV, but how? Why would you do that? And really the show over the course of 9 hours really takes the time to show how that happened and show that grooming process and show just how much they were manipulated. And so hopefully people have a better understanding and maybe a little bit more empathy for the Broberg family afterwards.
All right, Colin, you utter a line in a movie, and this is sort of a quiz. If you could guess which line it is, and Maggie doesn't know, that makes me almost cry every time I hear it. And it's a movie I've seen 10 times. You have the line. Can you guess what movie I'm talking about?
Well, geez, I don't know if I've made that many movies in the last 10 years. I don't know if I could do it. I'm not sure. I don't know. Really?
I have kids who are 10 and 12.
So it's got to be Jumanji.
Jumanji 1 at the end, and I don't want to spoil her, but that you named your daughter after the character.
Yes. Okay.
Got me every time.
Yeah?
I've seen it 10 to Maggie as a 3-year-old has not fully been into Jumanji 1 and 2. It is one of our all-time favorites.
I'm telling you right now, I'll come back on this program anytime because you've wanted to hit me and you've cried based on things that I've done.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going to start performing for you from now on. I think I'm just going to, that's all I need. I just need you.
You're Perloff's favorite actor. This is a huge day for us as our whole lives and show is culminating just to this moment. We have like no time left with you, but I have one more question for you. So you've gotten into documentary films and producing them, and now you're tackling Willie Mays, who really is an icon for so many different reasons in sport and society. You may not think of him this way, but to a lot of us, your father is also an icon. Have you thought about telling his story? Whenever that time comes, do you want to be the person who tells the Tom Hanks story?
Well, my Tom Hanks story is going to be very different from somebody else's. So my documentary would be about how he doesn't remember his password for anything on his computer. He can't get, anything to work.
Right.
Like, honestly, if I'm making that film, it's called Why Would It Work for Me? The Tom Hanks story. And I don't think people really want to hear that version. I mean, trust me, it's great. And it's actually better.
Yeah.
But
stop FaceTiming me accidentally when you mean to call.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, the butt dials are pretty hilarious. But yeah, no, you want to know what I think? I think I will leave that to someone else, and maybe I'll take the Barry Bonds approach to it. If need be.
Contributor. We like it. Say Hey, Willie Mays, Tuesday, November 8th at 9 p.m. on HBO. Then it'll be available to stream on HBO Max. We loved it. It was great. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with all your projects in the future. Don't be a stranger.
No, thanks a lot, y'all. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
Colin Hanks, appreciate that. More Maggie and Perloff right after this.